So the city of Toronto just went ahead and spent millions of dollars on a single building. Now, on the surface, okay, it looks like a pretty standard real estate deal. But as we're about to see, this one purchase might just pull back the curtain on a hidden story of influence, money, and power at City Hall.
And it all starts with this number. $16 million. That is how much public money the City of Toronto recently and, very quietly spent on one property.
Okay, so a $16 million price tag, that's going to make you ask some questions, right? Like, what building is possibly worth that much of our money? Who exactly was selling it? And maybe the most important question of all, why this building and why right now? Let's get into it.
Well, the seller was the Center for Social Innovation, or CSI for short. Now, they're a pretty well-known nonprofit, and their mission sounds great. Create the shared space for change makers to all work together and come up with new ideas. You can think of it as a central hub for Toronto's most civic-minded groups.
But here's the thing. To really understand the $16 million deal, we have to look way deeper than just the organization itself. CSI is part of a really deep-rooted network that's been shaping this city for decades, an ecosystem that some people call Toronto's progressive backbone.
Yeah, CSI didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was born from the exact same civic movement that famously fought off the Spadina Expressway, a movement pretty much defined by the legendary urban thinker Jane Jacobs. We're talking about a network that included giants of city council like David Crombie, Jack Layton, and the current mayor Olivia Chow. This group has been a major force in Toronto for a long, long time. So back in 2003, 5 key people from this very network got together and founded the Center for Social Innovation. Mary Rowe, Margie Ziedler, Tanya Sermon, Eric Meerkamper, and Pat Tobin. You're gonna want to remember these names. And this is where it gets really interesting. Those founders, they're now in some incredibly powerful positions all across the city. But it's that last name that should make you pause. Pat Tobin, one of CSI's original founders, is now a general manager at, wait for it, the City of Toronto, the very same organization that just bought CSI's building. And the connections, they don't stop with the people. Just look at this timeline. It shows how City Hall literally created the policies that helped CSI grow. Back in 2008, the council created a new rule to give loan guarantees to nonprofits. And guess what? Just 2 years later, they used that exact policy to back CSI's purchase of 720 Bathurst, the building at the very heart of our story. So this whole relationship really brings up a crucial concept you need to understand: the advocacy feedback loop. It's basically a system where public money, political lobbying, and city policy all operate in this tightly connected, self-reinforcing circle. Here's how that circuit works. It's pretty simple, really. Step 1. The city gives financial support. We're talking grants, subsidies, loans to these nonprofits. Step 2. Those same organizations, who are often tenants in places like CSI, become really powerful advocates at City Council. And Step 3. City policy then gets shaped by that very advocacy. It's a cycle that just keeps feeding itself.
And we are not talking about small-time players here. The list of groups inside this ecosystem is basically a who's who of Toronto advocacy. Organizations you've definitely heard of, like the Toronto Environmental Alliance, TTC Riders, and Cycle Toronto, have all been supported and housed inside CSI or its sister hub.
Let's just take Cycle Toronto as a perfect example. They're a tenant at 401 Richmond, which is run by CSI co-founder Margie Ziedler. That building gets a special property tax break from the city. And on top of that, in 2024 alone, Cycle Toronto got a check for over $100,000 in public funding. All that support lets them lobby for policies like more bike lanes, which the city then turns into official policy. You see the loop? So, on the one hand, we've got this deeply connected, super influential organization right at the heart of city policy. But that's only half the story. Because behind the scenes, especially after the pandemic, CSI was facing a totally different reality. One of some pretty serious financial trouble.
Yeah, the pandemic really shook CSI's whole business model to its core. Occupancy in their shared spaces just never bounced back. And as this quote shows, there was this real fear that if CSI went under, a ton of smaller organizations would literally have nowhere to go. So the stakes felt incredibly high.
And the financial pressure was just immense. First off, their own documents show CSI was carrying a massive mortgage of over $17 million. And to make things even worse, it renewed in September 2024 at a punishing 6.5% interest rate. Ouch. That's a killer.
And if that giant debt wasn't bad enough, the building itself was a huge liability. It needed an estimated $5 million in repairs and maintenance that had been put off for years. That is a massive bill for a nonprofit that's already struggling.
So here's the bottom line. Selling their building at 720 Bathurst wasn't just some option on the table. It was their only way out. CSI's own official offering statement made it crystal clear. Their survival plan was to sell this building to clear their debt and stay afloat. Without this sale, things were looking dire.
And this is where all the pieces of this puzzle finally click into place, leading us to the big, central question of this whole story. So here you have it, two totally different realities for one single transaction. The official story from the city is that they bought the building to create a much-needed indigenous-led shelter. A noble cause for sure, but the practical effect? A $16 million public rescue of a financially failing organization with deep, long-standing connections to the very people making decisions at City Hall.
I mean, just think about how perfectly the city's purchase aligned with CSI's own survival plan. In one fell swoop, it completely erased their massive mortgage, it shifted that $5 million repair bill off their books and onto the taxpayer, and it freed them up to stabilize their entire operation. For an organization on the brink, you couldn't have written a better ending.
Which brings us right back to that central question. When the city buys a building from a politically connected hub it has supported for decades, a hub whose founder is now a city executive, and a hub that desperately needed to sell that building just to survive, is that really just a real estate transaction, or is it a bailout by another name? That's the $16 million question we'll leave with you.